What are your thoughts when people say integrate service delivery? What can you do to be thinking about how we can better integrate our services? It all comes back to Sarah. And so when we're thinking of Sarah, you could be thinking of Sarah when she's just gotten married, or Sarah and Sam as they're about to have their first child, or after they have the first child. What are we doing for Sarah and her child? Thinking through those first 5 years as she's growing. Maybe there's an addition as we're thinking about that. Or as Sarah gets to her adolescent teen years. Growing up. You can tell which decade this might be. And that's my brother, not my prom date. Or after she finishes school and she's a young adult. And then even thinking as she's going into professional life, and then it's starting as a cycle, if she chooses to have children or not. But what's important is that we're thinking about how does this all connect? And so one of the key things that I always think about is just in a simplistic form is around, and this is from WHO, is looking across the continuum of care, Sarah's life cycle and the people that she interacts with, from pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, all the way through the cycle of adolescence and then when it begins again. And then looking at the different levels of service delivery and how can we better link those service delivery points for Sarah's needs, because Sarah's not going to be able to get everything at the community level, or it might not make sense for her to get all of her services or needs at the hospital as we think through task shifting and how we better strengthen the health system. Sarah is at the center of the Integrated Service Delivery Initiative. In reality, Sarah is mostly at the initiative, is at the center at a lot of our different initiatives if we think about the marketing, for instance. Even as we're nurturing the network, it's about how can we better service Sarah and thinking through what are her needs, how do we better understand Sarah's needs, not only through the marketing lens, but also then looking at the lead with evidence. So really thinking about how not only we have these individual initiatives, but then how are they linking together? And each of us within the strategic initiatives is looking through different ways of how we can work together. If we think of those global cost-effective impact at scale for the strategic initiative, we're looking at how are you increasing DALYs averted, how can we increase CYPs, which quite frankly have had negative growth, so that's also a concern of mine, but then also looking at use as a percentage of need. And so as we think about that, are there more services that we can be providing to Sarah that make sense? And a good example is often, if we think of in the RH world, you might have after Sarah has given birth and you want to encourage her to get her child vaccinated, is that an opportune moment to think, here's a postpartum woman, can we offer family planning services? And for instance, in Mali, they've had that as a great way of targeting women that are getting another service, but that are interested in potentially meeting another one of her needs. We're the largest social franchising organization, and as we think about evolving our social franchise business model, we want to see how can we not only incorporate what we've been working on around quality and health impact, but also remember that these franchisees are businesses at the end of the day. And so leading the way, Dawn Fess is the focal point for Tunza for her social business, social franchise, working on that with the PS Kenya team, as well as looking at rolling it out in other countries. And they were just meeting this past week about thinking about how they're going to understand what is the value proposition that a franchisor offers the franchisee and helps the franchisee not only be better businesses, but be able to offer then more services, and looking at it from a more one-stop shop, whereas previously within our franchises, we've been focused very much on one health area. Red Segura, what they're taking, and Mike Carden is the key focal point on this in LAC, and he actually was just in Kenya to try to learn from what's being done in Tunza and then also share what they're doing, is that they're going to start off with a clinic, and they started in the DR, and then they're going to be launching also in Honduras. Let's get that business model, that unit for a clinic correct, offering primary care services as well as reproductive health services, and see what do we need to do from a business standpoint, and can we make that viable? And then if we can make it viable, can we franchise that?